So we covered who is Charlie and what scrub the list mean. This is a very important story. Yesterday, there was some breaking news about Don Jr., fake Republican Senator Richard Burr from North Carolina, who has a Liberty score on conservative review of, I think, in the 40s somewhere. He's probably being beaten by some Democrats. So this guy's allegedly a Republican, Richard Burr. He runs the Senate Intelligence Committees. You'll see this headline from IJR. U.S. Senate Intelligence Panel subpoenas Trump's son, says sources. U.S. Senate Intelligence Panel? You may say, Joe, don't Republicans run the U.S. Senate? Yeah.
That's what I was saying.
So how is it that the U.S. Senate Intel Committee, run by a Republican chairman, Richard Burr, is subpoenaing Donald Trump Jr. again about the Russia hoax? Well, number one, Burr's weak. BURR, Richard Burr. He's always been weak. If you're in North Carolina, I always encourage you to respectfully, we're all adults, you know the rules. We don't act like liberal, violent maniacs here. We leave that to them.
That's right.
But it would probably be a good idea to email or call his office and to politely inquire as to why Richard Burr, an alleged Republican, is still playing into the Russia hoax and subpoenaing Don Jr. to come back to the Intel Committee again about a hoax. Don't you worry, ladies and gentlemen. I've got the behind the scenes for you from some excellent sources on this. Always good to have those kind of folks on the inside. Here is what is really going on behind the scenes. First, Richard Burr's a fraud, okay? He's not a real Republican. He is most certainly not a conservative. And he is wholly, completely dominated on his committee by a Democrat. Mark Warner, who's the ranking on that committee, the Democrat, but doesn't run the committee. The Republicans run the committee. Mark Warner runs that committee, the Democrat. Burr's weak. He's a weak man. Warner runs the committee, the Democrat. Listen to me. Take that as fact from everybody I know on the Hill. Warner dominates Burr. Burr's not a real chair. He's a fake chairman. He's not the real deal. The Democrat, Mark Warner, runs that Senate Intel Committee. Mark Warner, you're like, Dan, you always tell us to remember the names. Mark Warner. What is it about Mark Warner that rings a bell? Oh, yeah. Mark Warner's the one, the Democrat senator, who's receiving texts from a lawyer about arranging, a lawyer by the name of Adam Waldman, who works for a Russian oligarch connected to Putin, by the way. And Warner's the guy receiving texts from this lawyer about setting up meetings with who? Christopher Steele, the same source I told you, was a source for John Brennan and the FBI, while likely not telling the FBI he was working with the CIA. Warner's knee deep in this. Warner sees there's a new sheriff in town. Remember, Warner runs the committee. Burr is weak. He's a puppet of the Democrats. Burr could have shut this down. So follow me. Burr's weak. Warner knows he's not knee deep. Warner is neck deep in this entire Spygate scandal. Behind the scenes texts he's issuing back and forth in order to set up a meeting with Christopher Steele. This is a year ago. What does he want to do meeting with the source? Are they trying to develop a cover story as to what Steele was really doing to hide the fact that he was a resource for multiple people in the government while lying to them about fake information? Warner's on the texts. So number one, Warner needs a distraction. The distraction is going to be subpoena Donald Trump. Well, the Republicans say, stop. Burr's not he's a fake Republican. Warner dominates him. They need a distraction right now from the fact that Warner's going to be roped up in all of this when the stuff is unclassified, declassified, when the information's declassified, and Barr starts looking into it.
Right.
Warner will be roped in, lassoed in big time. He needs a distraction. So they bring Don Jr. back. Secondly, the Senate Intel Committee is notorious for leaking like a sieve. They need new sound bites for the media. The compliant, bootlicking, sycophantic liberal media needs sound bites to attack Don Jr. Why? Go back to point one. To distract the media right now from the absolutely exploding Spygate scandal. How do you get new sound bites, Joe? You testify Don Jr. behind closed doors. You get him to testify behind closed doors. And then the Senate Democrats and the hack Republicans, probably BURR too, walk out to the media. Did you hear what he said there? I wrote this down. Wait, I thought this was testimony behind closed doors. No. It's the media. Don't worry. We can tell them that. They're compliant. They won't give us up. They need new sound bites. They need a distraction.
Right.
One other point. You may say, well, why are they issuing a subpoena for Don Jr. at all? What's the point? Their stated reason, and I used, again, the dreaded air quotes, because this is garbage. This is BURR getting steamrolled by his boss, Mark Warner, the Democrat. Don Jr. testified about a Trump Tower project in Moscow. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the most uninteresting part of this entire Russiagate, Obamagate, Spygate fiasco. Donald Trump is a real estate developer. The fact that there was a proposal that never went through for a Trump Tower in Moscow I don't even understand what's interesting about this. This is not illegal. He builds buildings. That's what Trump does. It is not illegal to have suggested to you or to look at building a building in Moscow. Now, the reason Warner lackey Richard Burr needs Don Trump to go, and the stated reason is, well, Michael Cohen said that Don Jr. knew more about the Trump Tower Moscow project than he was letting on. Who cares? Who cares? One, I don't believe he testified for something like 8 hours in front of their committee. He asked them, do you have any more questions? No. I don't believe he was lying at all. Don Jr. has been completely honest. He released the emails about the Trump Tower thing. He testified in front of the Senate committee, no problem. If I were Don Jr., I would flip the double-barrel middle finger right now and say, no, I'm done with you guys. You see what they're trying to do, Joe? They're trying to trip him up in a lie, a lying to Congress charge. You said you knew a little bit about the project, but you knew a little more than a little bit. Who cares? It's amazing how a perfectly legal project to develop real estate in Moscow that never happened is the subject of fake Republican Richard Burr's inquiry on the Senate Intel Committee and a new subpoena about a hoax, while a $500,000 payment that actually went through to the Clinton Foundation for a Bill Clinton speech paid for by a Russian bank involved heavily in the arrangement to purchase our uranium by a Russian company, our nuclear fuel. No worries about that, folks. Let's not subpoena Bill Clinton again. This country is so lost right now. It's really pathetic. Senseless rants I don't want to waste your time, but we are so lost right now. This is such a gutless group of punks up on Capitol Hill. This guy Burr disgusts me. He disgusts me. He doesn't have the spine to stand up and say, are we serious right now? We're still talking. The president of the United States was spied upon, was accused of treason. And now to cover up their crimes, they're illegitimately accusing the president of the United States of obstructing a crime that didn't happen. And you're subpoenaing Don Jr. because you think he knew a little more than a little about a perfectly legal project that never happened? Burr's a disgrace. North Carolina, I'm telling you, you're better off with a Democrat than this guy. He does you no good at all. He's chairing one of the most sensitive committees on the U.S. Senate. They're leaking like a sieve to the media, and he's the one subpoenaing the president's kid about a nothing burger on steroids? What a waste of everybody's time. These guys are gutless.
Yeah. 2 words for Don Jr. Fight me.
That's exactly what he should tell him. You're darn right. And Warner. Why isn't Warner being subpoenaed?
Yeah.
Warner's the one neck deep in this. Why haven't we gotten answers about his texts with a lawyer working for a Russian oligarch who's also representing a spy who was providing information to the U.S. government used to target Trump? No, don't worry about that. Nothing to worry about there, folks. Scam. Lapdog. A little lapdog. You know, he's like that. What's the cat from Austin Powers? Mr. Bigglesworth? Can we put a picture of him up on the screen during the show at some point today? Here, Mark Warner is what's his name? Dr. Evil, and Richard Burr is Mr. Bigglesworth, the cat. He's a lap cat. Pathetic. Pathetic. Weak-kneed. Oh, the joke. You know, I'll leave it with this. Here's the problem. A lot of Republicans up on the Hill, like Richard Burr, are really Democrats. But no Democrats up on the Hill, none, are really Republicans. That's the problem. And that's why we lose. Because we have gutless wonders up there. Remember the wonder years with Fred Savage? These are the unwondered years we're living in now. Starring Richard Burr and his friend Mark Warner with the goofs. The unwonder years, goofballs. Where's Mr. Bigglesworth? We need I want a side by side of Mr. Bigglesworth and Richard Burr. All right. It's insane, really.
Oh, dude.
Country's lost, Joe. I'm telling you, the last chapter of my book, I'm keeping it super short, less than 1,000 words, just summing up where the heck are the Democrats on this. I would never, ever, ever countenance any of this stuff if this happened to a Democrat president or Republican did it, Trump or anyone else.